slide presentation.
Sorry?
Good morning. If you want me, I can share a small presentation I have. It's like a 10 slide, so we can jumpstart the interview.
Okay. In a bit, my friends, I will just make you co-host and we will make that happen.
Great.
Perfect. Hey everyone, and welcome. So today we will talk about the Wings of Hope program, and we have an amazing speaker with us that I look so much forward to talk about this topic with him because he's really expert in it. I have some good point of view why it's important to really create a big awareness about this program that they are creating. So welcome, Cesar Castro. Welcome, friend.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tanya. It's a pleasure to be here today.
You're most welcome. And to you out there, Cesar is coming from Costa Rica. So right now it is in the morning, and that's why it's a little bit dark there.
Yeah, it's going to get better because right now the sun is coming out, so don't worry.
Oh my God. When I was in the Guatemala and worked with the Acas, like the sun's uprising there, it is just incredible, beautiful.
Yeah, it's great. And also it's going to be a little bit noisy because the macaws and the parrots are going to start waking up, so it's part of the wonder of this time.
Do you also have howler monkeys down there?
Yeah, but not in this region.
Okay.
Howler monkeys live in lowlands, and this is a little bit hike for them. We are
Okay.
like 1,000 meters, so it's too cold for them. But yeah, we,
Oh
we do
really?
have them. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Hmm.
Oh, she says, please,
Hmm.
like, tell us a little bit about who you are. Like, what is your background? Why did you choose to really work from this amazing organization? There is
Hmm.
the Parrots Resource Center of Costa Rica. Like, what is your background by choosing this amazing work?
Well, I am a biologist, and I am really passionate about natural world, and particularly endangered species conservation. And well, this country has a lot of opportunities to work with wildlife. Um, a couple of years ago, I found out about this particular project. I really believed in they were doing. It's basically a program where they provide long time support for the birds that cannot be released. And also, they have a very specialized program to get back to the wild those birds that can be released. A very interesting thing about the Parrot Rescue Center of Costa Rica is that this is the only parrot-specific research facility and release center in the Central American area. It requires a lot of prior knowledge. It requires a lot of passion to work with these birds. Uh, Even to be able to develop and manage every diet is really, really complicated. So I really believe in their work. I really believe in Valentina's vision, and that's why I jumped in on this project. I think it's very valuable, and giving every bird the chance to live its best possible life, it's always going to be something that makes the world a little bit better every day. So that's why I like to be working here. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. So why did you pick this topic that I know you are expert in this program that you have down there that is called the Wings of Hope program? Like, why is this so critical to talk about in these times?
Well, when we joined our paths and we were starting developing our strategies of conservation, it was clear that many of the ideas required to be, let's say, put together into the same program. And also, we developed the Wings of Hope program that basically involves everything from the environmental education, how to fund these projects, because that's a very important part. We do have a lot of issues with wildlife. We do have a lot of trafficking, sadly, and most of those birds come to the rescue center. But you always have to wonder, well, how do we fund this? How do we pay the veterinarian? How do we build enclosures? How do we keep this afloat? So we know we have a big flock of supporters that like to come and like to volunteer with us. So we created the Wings of Hope program in order to give them not only a little bit of let's say, established regulatory program where they know what can they do, what can they learn, how can they support. But also, we also have the path of understanding what has to be done with the birds, which is the specific set of rules and procedures that we have to do to make sure if a bird is releasable or not. So the Wings of Hope program involves all of that, not only the human part, but also the animal welfare area.
Oh, that's amazing. So why, like, talk us about what bird conservation mean. Like, what is bird conservation? You did touch a little bit about it, but what is it exactly?
Well, I would start saying that a challenge about bird conservation that people don't always expect is the longevity. Sometimes when people get a parrot, they think it's just a small time commitment. But the reality is that we have some birds that can live up to 80 years, even 100 years. So there's a lot of animals here that used to belong to elder people that passed away. And now we're taking care of them. Of course, the vast majority of those birds are not releasable, but it's a sad part that sometimes when people get a bird like this, not always they see into the future that probably someone else will have to take care of that bird. And that's another reason why Wings of Hope exists, because we also want to provide a pathway to people that has birds and don't have an idea of what's going to happen to these birds.
Yeah.
We have some animals that belong to people in their 70s when they got them, and of course the birds outlived them. So bird conservation, I would say, has a lot to do with how do you see things in the future. You need to be able to plan ahead. You need to be able to develop strict diets, and you need to be able to understand the flow of things. Costa Rica sadly had a lot of forest area coverage loss in the 80s, and a lot of wildlife trafficking that it's not so strong right now, but we're still suffering the aftermath in this species. Because again, if let's say a macaw was taken out of the wild in 85 or in the 87, that's 40 years ago. That's still on their lifespan. So we're still dealing with that. So bird conservation has a lot to do with understanding how the ecosystem works, understanding the social pressures around birds, and also to create answers that can withstand the pass of time. So it's very challenging. I have been working the rest of my life in marine mammal conservation also, and it's very different because it's usually dealing with situations that are pretty immediate. But with bird conservation, you need to think ahead, you need to plan, you need to see how not only can you fund this year, but the next 20 years at least. So it's very challenging.
That is a very good point. I like it when you
Mhm.
talk about, like, because one of the things that I really love about you is really like you meet people where they are and really like be curious about like how can you help and support them, the people that have a parrots and the people that is going out traveling, or what organizations is good to choose to support, like who is out there that is really doing the good job, that is really like honest about the work. And one of the things that you really educate people about, like what they get to be right about before they have a parrot,
Mhm.
most of all when they have a parrot, because me as you is I do not, from my point of view, I say no to people when they ask about like, hey, I want to get a parrot. Like of course I get a little bit like, oh, red line. I
Definitely.
get curious about it and really sharing the dark side, like not the dark side, but the side about they get to be right about, like this bandwidth, how many years they live, what they get to be right about. Because as you know, like if I knew this information I have now, I will never, never, never have to roast a cockatoo, because the time I spend with them every day and over a month, and the money it is like no one teach you that, like when you go out to get a
Mhm.
parrot at all. Like my one of my parrots have a sickness for many, many years. It's first now because I buy so many equipment inside, and it's not good enough, because what is good enough for them is to be outside, and outside where they belong, and keep them where they're coming from the first point.
Yeah, it's also very challenging when we have birds that are not from this region because you would assume that having macaws from the Americas, it's easy because we're in the same continent, but the reality is that we have some challenging diets. We have a rescued hyacinth blue, his is the most gorgeous thing ever. But the reality is that it's very challenging to be able to supplement his diet because his natural environment is from Brazil. And here in Costa Rica, we're a little bit up north, so we just don't get the same seeds that he usually consumes in the wild. And we can, of course, supplement a lot of similar stuff, but we know it's not perfect. In
Oh,
order to be perfect, we would have to get the seeds from Brazil,
yeah.
which drives up the costs crazily, as you can imagine.
I can imagine that.
Mhm.
So, what is the impact of the stream of wildlife like? What do people get to be aware about the impact people do to wildlife by the choices they're making?
Well, that's a very good point, Tanya, because believe it or not, everyday choices impact how we interact with wildlife, particularly our consumer choices. Um, if we are talking about the pet industry, as you were talking a little bit about,
Yeah,
it's very important to understand where are we sourcing our animals from. So,
mm,
well, here it's illegal to own macaws, for example. Right now, there's a lot of legal stuff going on. There's a lot of people in the government trying to make it legal, which makes me a little bit scared, if you ask me, because that would mean a lot of people that it's not ready to get a macaw and do not
yeah,
understand the commitment it requires will get a macaw. And that means in, let's say, 3 or 4 years, I will have more macaws here to care for, and that means more economical pressure also to the project. But
mm,
so if you're getting a macaw and you're in Europe or you're in Asia, it's very important to know that the source of the animal is a legal established place that can ethically breed them. There's some of them in the world, but paperwork is everything. The worst case scenario for particularly parrots or macaws, it's to get them from the illegal pet trade. There is still some nest poaching in the Americas, and there's still a heavy traffic of these animals around the world. So that will be point number one. The second one is to make sure that our choices as customers reflect what we think of how the environment where they live in should be managed. For example, if we are getting, let's say, some seeds or some coffee, for example, that it's not ethically grown, that could mean that that product is coming from an area where the habitat of these birds was destroyed. Uh, Let me make a small commercial here. For example, we are developing a local variety of coffee. Of course, it's called Wings of Hope. But yeah, it's ethical coffee from the region, and we can also use that coffee to support our business as well and our rescue center around here. But so yeah, ethical business decisions, ethical consumer choices are paramount if we want to conserve the birds. Yeah.
that's a good point. So, one of the things that we also did talk about was really like the Wings of Hope program is also really, from my point of view, also like creating awareness about people that have parrots right now in the
Mm-hmm.
family, what they get to be aware about. Because when I was down, I did not know that. Like, and also what you talk about, like what we buy, we support in the first process, and
Mm-hmm.
most of us don't up to this point have the awareness about, okay, if I buy this, where does it come from, like from the first step in the process, and we support the whole process, like also with parrots. And when we make an impact on wildlife, what we choose, we support like the whole process, like every step in it. That is really like when I was down in Flores, I get around about like amazing guy was just like, Tanya, did you know when you post a picture of you on your parrot, as I did it before I jumped in for 6 years ago, do you know what it can support? It's like, nope, I have no clue.
Mm-hmm.
right down there, like the black markets is happening where they're going out and putting blooms on the sticks, on the branches, where the female and the male is front of the nest, and the feet is stick to the stick, and they're going up to take like the small chicks from the nest, and they take it into the black market, because when chicks is close to human hands, they have a big opportunity to get used to human by taking as a small chicks. And I was like, I have no clue that was happening. And I was like, I'm here from Denmark. Down there is like in America, it's like my picture's going down. Yeah, it's also porn there, because the people down there, the way they get it most of the time, the information I get was they're going out in the white forest to take the chicks from the nest. I was like, that is horrible. So from that point, I was speaking about it. I was like really being aware about like, do not share pictures with my parents. Sometimes old picture is popping up, and sometimes my parents is popping up on the side. Still, it's really like being aware about that picture. So I would like to know your point of view on what I've just shared, like what people get to be aware about their impact by they showing a video or picture of the parents, no matter where the parents is from in the world.
Well, that's a very sad and valid point because, as you perfectly said, pet trade is particularly harmful in areas where the conservation status of the species that we're talking about is a little bit fragile. Uh, I have just been in Belize and in Guatemala as part of my conservation trip. And well, in Belize, they are making a lot of efforts to keep afloat the populations of scarlet macaws. We have the same species over here. Oh my God, you can't imagine how beautiful is now the sunrise. But sorry, don't let me get distracted. It's like purplish. It's great.
Oh
So
my god.
the thing about how scarlet macaws population are working over there is that there's a lot of let's say areas where the lack of opportunities, particularly educational and stable job opportunities, is creating the necessity for the people to go and do things that normally wouldn't be good for the environment, such as poaching the chicks. But the reality is that this is a thing only because tourists allow that. If tourists were not fueling that industry over there, there wouldn't be a demand for them to go and poach those chicks. Also, the sad part is that I learned how much would scarlet macaws go for in Guatemala, and it was sad because the usual amount that the poachers were paying the people that actually went into the forest and take the chicks, it's around $4,000 per macaw. But you
Wow.
also have to wonder, I mean, what does that means in terms of ecological success? I mean, how much damage are we making just for that small amount of money? So I think it's very sad. Here in Costa Rica, it's illegal to post pictures with wildlife. So, for example,
Love it.
if you go to a rescue center, I mean, you can, but we don't encourage people to take what we call animal selfies.
Yeah.
That was believe me, a long legal battle that we had in our courts here. But finally, our judicial system ruled that it was too dangerous for the animals to have the pressure of the tourism. And this is a very touristic country. So
Yeah.
it is illegal here to post animal selfies. And trust me, that changed drastically how people interact with wildlife. And you could even see in terms of statistics how much the stress of the wildlife populations decreased. Again, we do have a lot of scarlet macaws in the country. There's a lot of also breeding and release projects in the area that have been very successful. I believe we are entering right now like a let's say a pause where the government is going to analyze the genetics of the populations, the success rate of the releases. So in terms of populations, we're okay. I wouldn't say we're perfect, but we're pretty good. We're reaching the goals that we were setting for ourselves. But the
Yeah.
reality is that that part of environmental education, the public interaction, is the one that we're lacking the most. And yeah, I mean, thinking something like what can I do in the way that I portray my interaction with this bird in terms of its conservation is very important. I would also say that, for example, if you get a legally sourced bird, let's say you get a small parakeet, and you know it comes from a breeding facility, and the parents were legally obtained and they were not wild caught, because that's another thing. There's a lot of places that say, well, this is a breed bird, so it's safe and it's legal, but the reality is that the parents were poached. So if you get a legal bird and everything is fine, I would strongly encourage anybody that is in that position to go and understand how their life in the wild is, how to supplement their diet, how to provide environmental education to others in order to prevent the extraction, the illegal extraction of those birds. Because maybe people will do the things as best as they can for the species, but who knows if their friends who are looking at that bird and they just think, oh my God, I really want that parakeet. And I will go at whatever extent it takes to get that parakeet. So that's kind of dangerous for the species. Also, coming to programs like this, because we do still have a strong volunteering program, could
Yeah.
also teach people how does bird health look like in the field. I think we as customers and we as owners have the responsibility of getting information, of getting involved in conservation projects, and to know what we're getting into.
Yeah. So good. Tell us a little bit about the volunteer opportunities or the volunteer program, because people all over the globe can come down to you guys and volunteer and really learn this about the macaques and also the other stuff you're doing down there in Costa Rica.
Yeah, well, we thankfully have a fully equipped house. It's very comfortable.
Uh,
We can house 5 people every time, and our volunteering programs is consisting of 2 weeks of field work. We do have some flexibility because there's a lot of things to do here, and there's a lot of programs that we have been developing. So we do have a lot of flexibility on time frames. But we do have some recommendations. There is even a small booklet that we provide the people, a digital booklet, so they know what can they expect, what can they do. We are also in one of the world's biggest places in terms of biodiversity. So very close from here is Corcovado National Park, which is the national park that has the highest biodiversity per square meter in the world.
oh,
So
really? Oh, wow.
it's an amazing place to visit. So if people is coming here to do volunteering with us, we can help them arrange a visit to the Corcovado National Park. There is whale watching. That national park has a healthy population of cougars and jaguars. So it's a great, great place. And here you will be working in terms of how do we prepare the diets, the enrichment that we give to the birds, how do we interact with locals. We have a camera trapping program, so you can also see what's the wildlife that lives
Wow.
around here. So it's a very integral program that will get you to know how wildlife conservation works and will give you a hands-on experience on real conservation. Of course, we do have some lectures if people will take them. I personally love to give the biology of conservation lecture because it tells you why we do this. Why is this important? And I think in life, it's very important to understand not only the how do we do stuff, but also why is it important. In terms of biological conservation, nowadays it's more important than ever.
Oh my God. Sure. Sure. So people come down to you guys to stay there for 2 weeks. How long can people stay there? Because normally when I traveling out, I stay like minimum like 1 month and more,
Mhm,
because also like the impact of the flying and all what is in that package of traveling, like staying
mhm,
there longer time as possible to
mhm.
like making the least of impact on the earth.
Well, that's a very valid point because, again, we do work in a place where we want to keep the environmental impact as low as possible and our carbon footprint as small as possible. And there are two chances. Well, the first one is to arrange with us a longer stay. It will depend heavily on our schedule and our other volunteers coming in, because again, we really want to keep a low capacity. So we just don't want to overwhelm the animals. We don't want to have people in a crowded place. The volunteer house is great. I always use it when I come here to check on the birds, to do lectures. It's very comfortable, and we wanted to keep very comfortable. But also, we have very good relationships with other conservation centers. And this is in the mountains of the southern part of Costa Rica.
Oh,
So we can help volunteers arrange another volunteering opportunities in different research centers in other parts of the country. So you
wow.
might experience the lowlands in the Caribbean or the dry forest in the North Pacific. And I have places that also do conservation over there. So we can design, let's say, like a global package of Costa Rica. So you can visit national parks, you can learn about the local culture, you can help and understand how to grow coffee, which is very important here. So it's a very immersive experience that can help you to understand how this works and how can you give something in return to nature here. Mhm.
Oh, I love that. I love that. What else is important for people to know, like besides like what they can take up for exercise, like on the information we have talked about right now, like what is more important for people to know about this, like your amazing program that is the Wings of Hope program?
Well, they have to know that we are completely invested in our animals. We're working heavily on keeping them in the best conditions ever. We have the enclosure design that is thinking on bird health. That's why this is not a touristic place. And this concept is very sometimes complicated for the people to understand because they're like, well, are you a sanctuary? Yes, we are a sanctuary, but we do not get touristic travels here. So if there is a tourist coming in here and he's knocking on the door, I'm sorry, we do not receive tourists here. We
Oh, I
only
like
have
that.
volunteers. So if you really want to come, you need to book a volunteering opportunity with us. We do have short volunteering opportunities, let's say,
Yeah.
but the reason why we don't are open like a usual sanctuary is because we don't want birds to be seeing people all the time. We don't want to have a lot of traffic around here. But trust me, this is a very secluded, private, peaceful area of the
Oh, I like
countries
that.
up in the mountains. This is indigenous land as well. So
Oh, wow.
it's an amazing place. But yeah, so people need to know that we're completely invested in bird health. And
Okay.
every decision we make, it's based on technical criteria about how can we keep our birds safe and healthy. In our release programs, we will see and we will show people also how do we conduct behavioral tests to know if the birds are going to actually make it in the wild. So if
Oh,
we are, for example, preparing a bird, usually toucans, to be released, we conduct a lot of tests. And once we are happy with the results, we move on with the release. And we like people to understand and be aware of every step of the process because that also gives you a better idea of the costs and also gives you a
oh,
better idea of what are the implications of our actions. Here, for example, in the country, there's a very heavy campaign about putting stickers on your windows
that's
because
true.
there's a lot of crashes of birds into the windows. So sometimes people is like, but I don't want to put the stickers because maybe my windows are not going to be looking as fancy as they would without the
That's
stickers.
true.
Or I invested a large amount of money in my
And new
architectural
windows.
design and I like my
Yeah.
house the way it looks. But when you see how long does it take to a toucan to readapt to wildlife after it hit the window, the effort that it takes to take care of the animal, and sometimes they don't make it. So I
Oh,
think
really?
it's a very valuable lesson, and you will be more than inclined to cooperate with these initiatives once you understand the whole process. And trust me, there's nothing that can uh, be better than having the chance to see one of those birds that you take care of flying away.
Oh,
That you
wow.
know that you did your job and the bird is now in the wild. I mean, that's just something that you cannot match.
Oh, no. I have not experienced that yet. I have taken care of the parrots in the different states. Oh my God, that's
Mhm.
so many states. Before this in this amazing interview, please talk about like, because for some of the birds that is a long process before they can be released. So tell us about that process, about like when you receive the birds and to they are getting to release.
Well, let me tell you the story about Blue. Well, Blue is a blue hyacinth. He's the most gorgeous bird ever. He's around 6 years old, and we received the call because the person that had it, it's a great guy. It's a person that we love a lot, but he didn't have the proper, let's say, team to work with birds. Sadly, we knew that Blue had a partner, but she passed away a year ago. So we were contacted after the partner died. And so when we received Blue, he came with also two golden macaws from Venezuela. So it's a South American team. We have one Brazilian, two Venezuelans. They are all gorgeous, but they were all facing a lot of health issues. So the first thing you need to assess is where's the bird from? So if it's not a local bird, of course, it's not releasable. So, first thing, now you need to assess the medical conditions of those animals. So, we contacted a wildlife specialist veterinarian. They go, they do the medical checkings, and once they have the clearance, we start with their therapy here. There is a lot of motion therapy, there's a lot of medicines involved. Blues treatment, because he has a lot of liver issues, are around at $1,800 every month. So it's a lot of money, but we really want to take care of our baby because that bird is very young. Their
Oh,
life expectancy is up to 80 years, and we're talking about a 6 year macaw.
wow.
And in terms of local birds, usually what happens is that the SINAC, which is let me see, how do I translate this? It's the National System of Protected Areas. That's
Yeah.
like the governmental instrument of wildlife managing and also the national park managing stuff in the country. So usually what happens is that they call us. They say, well, we have these birds and we need for you to take care of them. The reason why that happens in that order is because in Costa Rica, to be able to have a facility like this, you need to be in a wildlife management site. So you need to be a rescue center or either a sanctuary. We have both. So that's the only legal place where the authorities can put wildlife. The government by itself don't have a way to deal with these animals because they don't own the facilities and they don't have the resources to do this. So when they, for example, the police goes and they found out birds that were being trafficked, they send them to us. So again, medical checkup, that's the first. We have a quarantine that has to be done. We try to rush the medical checkups in order to leave the birds in a place where nobody's going to annoy them. Uh, Again, because we are in a very lush forest area, we have a lot of places and a lot of enclosures where they will not see people and they will be surrounded by the jungle. So
Oh,
the chances of those birds of getting by themselves, it's really high. Thank you. That's well put it. Okay, so the thing is that these birds have a great chance of being outside. So once we are happy with the medical results and once that we know that the birds can make it in the wild, what we do is that we will make some behavioral tests. Those behavioral tests will tell you if the bird is moving properly, like in a way that will help the bird to avoid predators and to look for food. If the bird is reacting to humans, and believe it or not, that's the most important part. We do not want to put out birds that are not afraid of humans. Why? Because how do we know? And this is not only a legal issue here in Costa Rica, but it's also a good practice around the world. How do we make sure that the bird is going to be safe? We want birds that will not approach humans because
yeah,
we might have the best intentions, but if those birds are looking for humans in terms of food
yeah.
or in terms of anything,
That
how
person
can
has
we
no
make sure?
problem.
Yeah. Imagine they are approaching somebody that has not the best intentions.
Yeah.
So I think the most important part is the behavioral test. So if we are done with the behavioral tests, the medical checkups, we don't want to keep the birds more than the bare maximum time that we can
Yeah.
have to make sure they can have a chance. Then we release them in a specific place that the authorities let us to release them. And
Nice.
also, we use camera trapping and audio recorders to do a little bit of monitoring to make sure they are making it good in the wild. Luckily, what happens usually when we release a bird is that if the bird is from a species that moves a lot, we rarely see that bird again, which means the reintroduction was successful. There are some species, particularly some parakeets, that will stick around. We
Oh,
don't particularly love that because we would prefer if they just go away and live their lives in the deep jungle. But the reality is that they check on us from time to time. But yeah, so it's very, very, very heartwarming when we can do that. But it's a long
oh,
process. The usual time frame, if that's what you were asking at the beginning of
yeah.
the whole process, it varies a lot with the species. But usually with parakeets, it's around 2 months because it depends, first of all, on the level of damage that the bird had,
Oh,
and also what's the likelihood of the bird making it in the wild. So we do have a pre-release area where we can train them to eat the local foods, where we can provide them with seeds that they will find in nature and also with fruits, and where
wow.
we can make the observations properly. But yeah, that's around the usual time frame.
It is still a long time to
Yeah.
have a birth before to release it, like the cost and the time and the people you
Mhm.
get to have to make that everything successful.
There are scenarios. It happened with a toucan at the beginning of this year, for example, where the police bring them.
Yeah.
They are like, we found this toucan. He was disoriented. Maybe he was hit by a car and he was in the street. We do the medical assessment. The toucan was right. We did a physical checkup. The toucan was aggressive, was reacting the way we want to humans. Keep him in observation 1 day. We give him the medical okay, and we release it the day after. So that also can happen. I mean, if a
Oh,
bird is just a little bit beaten up or confused,
it's,
maybe he just require a place to have a quiet night. We also can do that. But
oh, that's not.
sadly, that's not the vast majority of the
I know.
cases. So most of the times we will be dealing with birds that require some level of care. But yeah.
Amazing, amazing. So where can people get connected with you, Cesar, and this amazing work you're doing at the Parrots Resource Center in Costa Rica?
Sorry, what?
Where can people get connected with you guys?
Oh yeah. Well, we do have a very active Instagram profile, but also we have a website, the parrotrescuecostarica.com. You have all the links, and I'm sure we will provide the
I,
people with
yeah,
those.
I have,
But
yeah.
yeah, so I would suggest them to follow up in our social media to let us know that they want to cooperate. We do have again a lot of ways where we can do that, but believe me, the most important part is to share our vision, to share our idea, because what we really want to do is to spread the word so we can stop the things that are making the birds coming towards us. We love our birds, but we really don't want to have more traffic birds.
I
We
know.
really want to keep those birds in the wild. So the first thing would be stop wildlife trafficking. And trafficking exists because there is a market. If
Sure.
nobody is trying to buy or take pictures or move these birds, trust me, the poachers wouldn't have a job. And another thing that it's paramount of this, and I always try to touch base on it because I know it's not the usual biologist approach, but it's something that I have been learning with my years in conservation, is that something that it's very, very important to make sure that we're not supporting poachers is to keep the jobs stable in rural communities. Let
Oh,
me give you an example. And this is something I found out working with sea turtles in the Caribbean.
oh,
Uh, but trust me, it's part of the same program. It's part of the same problem at the end of the day, and it's part of the same society. Usually, in tropical places, what happens is that there are locals who own small shops and they have small restaurants or small, let's say, like hostels in the coastal regions, and that's how they get by. Usually, the infrastructure is not the best, and there's a reason for that. The we this year, just in this country, we had our 37th tropical storm coming to the region. So it's not because we cannot build, for example, a resilient infrastructure in those regions, is that if you're in a very heavy rain prone area where you have getting tropical storms every time, infrastructure is never going to be as good as it should be because it's going to be constantly destroyed. So we're talking about a very frail economy where people have small business and that's how they survive. And then usually a big investor comes and develops a huge hotel or something like that. And now those locals are unemployed because their small town projects just cannot withstand the competition, particularly because some of those foreign investors do not always need to make a profit. So
Oh,
there's people that owns hotels and they're like, yeah, I just like to have my hotel in Costa Rica, so I don't care if I make money. But the reality is that the locals really did need to make money in order to make ends meet. So what happens? Now you have people that used to be well off, they had small business, and now they don't have a job.
yeah,
Now the market is not offering them a place, and what can they do for life? I mean, how are they going to feed their children?
yeah,
And that's the dangerous scenario where poaching appears. Trust me, and I know a lot of poachers. I believe that my success as a conservation biologist is to be able to turn poachers into conservation agents. And all of them tell me being a poacher is the ugliest job ever. It's the worst thing that can happen to a person, but sometimes you just have to feed your children. So
oh,
how do we prevent poaching? We stop creating the conditions of the market that generate that necessity. So if you're
oh,
traveling abroad, for example, and I love your point of view about keeping a low carbon footprint, we should also think about our social impacts. So, what hotel are we staying at? Are we consuming local food? Are we using locally sourced ingredients for our meals?
yeah,
Are we supporting the local economy or are we destroying the local economy? And
that's
that
a
has
good
been
point.
happening in all of the Central American region. So sometimes people are like, well, but I'm not supporting poaching because I'm not getting illegal macaws. No, but you're staring at a large chain hotel that destroyed the habitat of the macaws and that
Um,
pushed the locals into an industry that they don't like. With egg poachers is the same with the turtles. Nobody likes to be a poacher. Nobody.
no,
But
I don't
sometimes
think so.
no, 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 no. They hate it. And it's also a
No,
very dangerous job. And if
for
you're
sure.
interested, I have been writing a lot of stories about that. I have a small book that I hope to publish this year in some point about the
Oh,
stories of these people and how really can we make conservation work? Because at the end of the day, the conservation is not about the animals. And that's something that you realize in some point of your trip. You realize that you're actually to keep these macaws here healthy and healthy and safe, you are not working to keep the wild macaws necessarily in great condition because they will do that to themselves. I mean, macaws don't require our help when they are in the wild.
I know.
People requires our help.
That's true.
So biology of conservation at the end of the day is about the people. It's how can you provide stable jobs? How can you keep local economy afloat? How can you do small things? How can you give small steps to keep the people away from the wildlife or
True.
enjoying it in a responsible way? Again,
Yeah,
the scarlet macaws that we have here in the jungle, they are fine by themselves. We just need to make sure that they can live like that for a long time.
that's so interesting. Like people, there's a people to people game. That's very interesting point of view. And
Mhm.
also like really like, do we really support the local or do we support the black market, like the eagle trade? That is very interesting point of view because
Mm.
it's not only one way, like with picture with the birds, it's also like where do you put your money at when you're going
Yeah.
out to traveling?
And what's the aftermath of it? Because
Yeah.
again, sometimes we feel like, well, we are not supporting anything illegal. Maybe we are working here in a way that we think that it's going to be beneficial for the communities. But again, if we are not supporting the local economy, what's happening to the local jobs? I mean, what's the local people going to do in the future? And that's particularly sad in the tropics because it's usually the region where the locals have to compete with, let's say, investors that do
Yeah,
not always have, let's say, the well-being of the society in the long term as their priority. So
true.
that's why you, in some places, you will see a lot of unemployment. I mean, it wasn't like that. It's let's say a recent phenomena, and it's because of how our economy is working right now. But
It's crazy.
ideally, we want to be friends with wildlife. We should always try to go with local choices, to make sure that the people living, let's say, shoulder to shoulder with these animals, can be in a place where they can keep a healthy relationship with the ecosystems around them.
Oh, it's so beautiful. And when people to you out there that's watching this interview, a good place to go to get that information, to get that knowledge is going to CISA and the organizations to ask about like what is the good choices, what can I choose, and ask for a guidance trip, like a trip the map out for you, like what is really supporting the local community as the society down there. So that is a very good point of view.
Well, in Costa Rica, it's a little bit easier because the country has been
Okay.
investing a lot for the last, let's say, 60 years. Although right now we are in a complicated stage as the whole world is right now. But during the last 60 years or so, we have been investing a lot on environmental education, on sustainable tourism. For example, if you want to pursue a career here in tourism, it doesn't exist. We only do ecotourism. So there's a lot of ways to understand. We have a country brand that is called Esencial Costa Rica, which means that if a place has the Essential Costa Rica brand, it's because it's locally sourced, it's carbon neutral, it's fair trade. There's also a lot of things you can follow around here, but most of our projects here are very, very good in terms of, let's say, fair trade and environmental sustainability. What we should be looking for is to avoid large international chains. So if you're coming to a place like this to stay in a hotel that looks exactly the same that it looks, for example, in Copenhagen, Madrid, or in New York, why are you coming? I mean,
Yeah,
what's
true.
the whole point of coming here? You want
Just
to be
going
out
to the
in the
city where
nature.
you live and just experience there.
Yeah, I mean, if you're staying in the big brand chain hotel that you stay every time you travel, what's the point of investing your time and resources coming here? It's a long trip. I mean,
Oh, it is a long one. It's a long
yeah,
one.
I mean, you have to go and enjoy. You have to be outside to be able to, I mean, live it to the fullest. So always go for the local choices. Again, here it's kind of easy because there's like a lot of recommendations. We also, if people wants to come and they want us to help with a schedule, we can
Sure.
provide a schedule. So,
Oh, I love that.
particularly involving our partners and people that actively supports the Pirate Rescue Center. That's something we can do in case somebody wants to come and they want to make sure they are going to good places, let's say.
The good places, good
Yeah,
content.
exactly. In the rest of the region, I would say outside of Costa Rica, it's important to see if locals are working in there. That's like the
Oh,
main indication because if you go to a hotel and you see no locals working, that's a red flag. I mean, that's something
sure.
that happens a lot. So if you want to travel and be, let's say, a, an environmentally friendly traveler, you need to make sure that locals are being employed. Usually, again, local places will have a very low environmental impact, and they are going to be mostly fine. Yeah.
Oh, that is so amazing. So your last words, Cesar, to the audience, like what is the one thing that you would like to leave with, like leave them with?
Well, I would like them to take home that they have power, that as customers, as people, as individuals, they have a lot of power to decide what's happening in wildlife. They have a lot of power to do things that will change the world for real. Their customer choices, their educational choices, the way they travel, the way they educate themselves has an impact to the world, and it changes how things work. I would ask them, being said that, to join our flock, to check our social media, to join our page, and to come to visit us. This is a great place to be, and it's a life-changing experience. And trust me, I'm not overselling it. It is what it is. I mean, being in the most diverse place on earth changes the way you understand your role as a human being. And yeah, I would love to share with everybody who comes here and likes to learn more about this place, to help with our birds and to provide help for our long-term vision.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, volunteer work, as all the places I've been, is just like it is incredible, and also like the self-development and the awareness, like it is going so fast, and you are just a completely new person afterwards, after a missing stay with like a missed organization as you guys are.
Mhm. Yeah, it's absolutely great. And so when people come, we always see how even in a small time frame of 2 weeks, you can see how they evolve. And usually the comments are like, "Oh my God, I never knew this was possible. I never knew you could live like this. I never knew you could make good consumer choices that will ensure that this world stays this." And also, I know that we're in an era where again the world is going through a complicated stage.
Sure. Maybe
We
all
have a
over the
lot of,
world.
I mean, you have a lot of threats of war. We have
Oh my God, yeah.
populism, political strife right now. So having the chance to come to nature and to hear, I don't know if the microphone is picking them up,
Oh,
but
I can hear a few times that it's like the scream is just like, oh,
yeah,
it's
I mean,
so
just
beautiful.
being here and looking around and having the chance to be in a calm area where you can see birds, you can hear the wildlife going through. In the night, you can see small animals walking around. I mean, it resets you into,
True.
let's say, a mindset when you can feel safe and when you can feel happy again. So
Yeah,
I think that's very valuable to be able to have the chance to reset here. This
it
is a
is.
very important place and a very appropriate one to go and to again take a break from the world right now.
True, true. It is like there is something special with the jungle. The jungle is will like bring the most peaceful up in us, like in transformation, and also like getting our soul connected to why we are on this earth. Like I've never
Mhm,
experienced that connections that I experienced in the jungle. Like really getting
mhm.
back to the root of who I am and why is I'm on this earth to make a change on.
It's unmatched. I mean,
Yeah,
once
true.
you are in nature and you can have the chance to ground yourself and to understand everything that's happening around, or at least some part of it, it changes you. It changes
Yes,
you for good.
it changed for good. A lifetime. Thank you so much, Cesar. And to you guys out there, thank you so much. Afterwards, I will put all the links to this amazing organizations, the Parrot Resource Center of Costa Rica, down below the video.
Mhm,
Please also go to follow them, click and follow them, and also check out the webpage. Choose, pick a time, pick a day where you choose to volunteer, because without you pick a time, pick a day in your calendar right now
mhm,
after this interview, it will never happen. You get to pick it and just
mhm,
be uncomfortable, go for it, because when you feel the calling, as you 100% did in this call, you get to plan it and really honor yourself and choose that for yourself, because there's something bigger within you that's calling for make a change on this earth by being together with this amazing organization, Parrot Resource Center of Costa Rica. So thank you
mhm.
so much, Cesar, and thank you for your time, your heart, your work. It is just unbelievable, amazing. I love to follow you guys on the social media, going crazy
Thank you
and
so
comment.
much.
It's just crazy what you're putting out there in the world.
No, thank you so much, Tanya. I enjoy a lot this early morning interview. I'm not particularly morning person,
Oh,
but
really?
you no, I'm not. But you give me the best chance to enjoy the sunrise, to be here talking to you about what we both love. And I think
Sure.
it was a very beautiful opportunity to involve others into our vision. So thank you
Sure.
again, and I hope our audience will enjoy this interview.
Thank you so much. And I love to join like the sunrises. Like it's just get me back to when I was in jungle. Like, oh, I get to get back there.
Yeah, I hope you can come here in the future. I would love to have you here.
My plan is to come back because there is something about the jungle in the like there's just something like unbelievably special about it. Like it's without words to describe the uniqueness that is of that jungle.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous.
It is, it is.
Mhm.
So thank you so much, Tisa, for your time, for this amazing interview. I will enjoy every piece of it. And thank you so much, my friend, for everything.
No, thank you, Tanya. Have an amazing day. Thank
You
you so
too.
much.
And bye everyone that's watching this. Have a beautiful day. Bye everyone.
Thank you.